the grid, stand up. SBC, Black Elvis, Roddy, OG, it's wavy. Look, started from the bottom, so we off the grid. Tryna make it to the top, we soon live off the grid. Had dreams of making teams, I was just a kid. But we off the grid, yeah, we off the grid. On the come up, so we off the grid. Had dreams of the league, we was all just kids. And the bullets from the underground, they often miss. The podcast bringing light, so they don't call it quits. Now pass the rock, I'm open on the 10. They call me wavy in the red zone for the win. Then do your dance on them, raise the roof, we got the fans rolling. Catch a pick and then do it again.
Hey, what's up, what's up? Welcome to the 7th episode of Off the Grid. I'm your host, Kamish, along with my boys, D-Dub and Roddy. Today we had the pleasure of bringing in a parent who's going to answer some of the questions that many parents may have today.
It's been 7 episodes. I just want to say thank you to all the viewers, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in every week to watch us and, listen to what we have to say about New York City and the football aspect of it. Today we were able to bring on G, a parent of my friend Jalen that I was able to play with for 4 years at Cardinal Hayes. He was able to speak about the recruitment process for him and Jalen going through high school and college. But what I wanted to touch on was just the fact of the family aspect, right? Him and Jalen's mom were big factors at Hayes and helping us through our success from freshman even to our senior year. We won a lot of games, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without the support from them. So I just want to give a special thanks to G, and yeah.
We'd like to thank G for being here, because although we touch on the minor stuff that goes on in youth sports, the hype, so to speak, there is another side to that. And hopefully during this interview you get to understand from a parental aspect of what needs to be done to help your kid, to get him through these rough times, to explain some of these things to them as we're dealing with all the stuff that goes on in our society. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoy what you're about to see.
Welcome back to another episode of Off the Grid. Today it's my pleasure to sit down and talk with my good friend, guy that I was a fellow parent with throughout the high school process, G Wisdom. So G, first of all, thanks for coming on the show, taking the time out to share your experience with parents and kind of gives a little bit of information on the process and what to look out for.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. So just for starters, to give a little bit background on yourself, you're a guy that has more than one child. You've been through the recruiting process with your older son who played basketball, went on to do some really big things at Virginia Union. Mm-hmm. Your daughter's in the armed services. So, you and the missus... She
played basketball as well, ran track and field at the University of Harvard.
So this is not your first rodeo, which is important specifically because you can talk a little bit to various sports. Mm-hmm. And also just to talk about the neighborhood you're from and just give us understanding. I'll, let the audience onto the fact that we happen to hail from a neighborhood in Soundview in the Bronx that's done some pretty amazing things, often not remembered for the good. They talk a lot of the negatives that go on. But just, give us a little bit about yourself.
I'm originally from Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant to be exact, Brevard houses, 300 Bainbridge between Ralph and Patchen. And my first experience with any type of football team or organization was just, one day seeing, the Renegades and the Whipsticks come through, hitting their pads and chanting, and I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? That was really dope. They was organized, they was disciplined, two legendary coaches that I know of, Coach Baldy, who was, four of my good friends' father lived in Brevard, and Coach Breeze from down on Bainbridge Street, so that was like my first interaction with the game.
Being that you had what most would consider an extremely dynamic athlete on your hands, when you and the missus thought about high schools and thought about the processes of selecting the place you wanted your son to spend the 4 years that were going to be really critical, what were some of the things that you thought about and, some things that you could pass on as gems to people that are in that 7th, 8th grade process and trying to narrow down schools?
Well, we looked at it like this. Like when we was looking for a high school for him, it was like selecting a college if he was coming out of, high school pretty much. You want to always try to find a situation that fits, fits your, son or daughter, you know what I'm saying? And mainly, where they're going to get an opportunity, check and see who's at the school. Do they have a lot of freshmen? If your son is an incoming freshman, do they have a lot of freshmen? Do they allow underclassmen to compete, for starting spots? Things of that nature. And, just so happened that Jalen played basketball too, so we was looking for a school that would, allow him to play basketball and football.
That's
but
great.
Football being his first love.
That last caveat about him playing multiple sports is great to hear because, our viewer community will remember episodes ago we talked about kids not specializing and kids being able to develop because early in the game you never know. Jalen is an athlete.
Yeah.
His brother was a all-world ball player, right?
Yeah, played running back, corner.
So the fact that y'all let that play out and develop, I'm glad that the viewers got to take that away.
Well, it goes back to this. You look throughout history, most of the great athletes played more than one sport. Jim Brown, you know what I mean? Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield played baseball, football, track and field. You know what I mean? So Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson, Danny Ainge played baseball and, basketball. So the thing I've learned is that playing multiple sports helps you as far as conditioning, helps you get better, from a performance standpoint. Jalen was a little small guy, but the football helped him on the basketball. Football helped him on the basketball court, and the basketball court helped him on the football field, so to speak.
I'm gonna ask you a question that I kind of know the answer to already. Allowing kids to be kids. There's a video of Jalen when he's maybe 6 or 7 years old at the Universal Circus, and that early, this guy's dexterity, his flexibility, and just the fact that he's an athlete was shown. And to see a video like that shared by a dude who's like one of the baddest running backs on the East Coast, and for him to walk around and still be a dude, like, I think it's important we talk to parents about letting kids be a kid and not getting so caught up in all of the other caveats that you kind of like stifle that process. A guy who's in education, the missus is in education, how you guys approach that particular part of the development?
Well, how can I say? I don't know if people know Todd Marinovich, but I don't want to be like a dad like that who just is sports, training, games, this, that, and the other. They're still kids, and even though we worked out a lot and we practice and things of that nature, you still have to have them like the opportunity to, be a kid. Go hang out with their friends, go to the movies. I'm not going to tell you not to do that, because what that's going to do is going to cause a little animosity and a rift, and what I would never want to do is ruin my kids, the relationship with my kids, over sports or over me, coaching them. So for clarity, guys, I want to point two things out. One, let your kid be a kid, but what we didn't tell you was not to train and not to do those things. Everything in moderation. So it's important that, in the overall development of your athlete, that you have balance in everything that you do. And it was also this documentary I saw one time, Trophy Kids, and it was like, and it wasn't funny because, what I saw was kind of like, these parents is basically living their lives through their kids, so to speak, and making them work. And it was different sports. It was tennis, it was golf, it was all different nationalities. But the one common goal that I saw was that, they looked like they wanted to go to the park and play, fly on the swing or play a video game or something, and it has to be a balance.
As a guy that's been around New York City sports for a number of years, specifically football in the last 10 years, if there was one thing that you could remove from the game, what would that be? And if there was one thing that you could bring into the environment that everybody could benefit, what would that second thing be? I know that's a loaded question, so I'll go back to the first part.
Remove from the game.
One negative element that exists in our landscape that you think would be worthy to say, if I could push a button and eliminate this problem right now, this thing I would get rid of and it would help everybody.
In New York City football, I think us traveling and playing other, cities and stuff like that, I think I would like to have that and remove where we can't go. It's so much, you know what I mean? A lot of New York City teams don't travel outside of New York City to go play competition, which ties into what I was going to speak about. Anybody ties into the exposure. You know what I'm saying? The exposure piece. When you go play, say, St. Francis in Maryland or a Jersey team, even for that matter, those kids are being recruited, they're being scouted, and you give your kids that maybe are not being recruited or scouted an opportunity to get that opportunity, because the schools are going to be there, they're going to be looking at those other kids. You know what I mean?
Dynamic answer. I think in a way you kind of answered both of the questions with one component, to stop doing one thing and to do something else. So let's talk a little bit about Jalen's recruiting process. We can both look at each other eye to eye and be being honest with each other, knowing that there were some challenges. In terms of statistical data, listen, we all know what he did. He did it here. He went on to do it on the post-grad prep school level. So just talk to us about how COVID and the camp series that we typically would participate in and all of those elements made it very challenging, and how your story ended where he's currently at. I'll let you talk.
As far as Jalen's recruitment his last year, you know what I'm saying, in Cardinal Hayes, it was pretty good, you know what I mean? It was a lot of different variables that tied into why different situations didn't, come into fruition from those, but, playing in New York City is a little disadvantage. You know what I mean?
Speak to what specifically you mean, like some of the challenges the New York City football recruit faces.
New York City football recruitment faces the fact that we are typically known as a basketball city. So football-wise, they don't really, they respect us. They got, we have some players from the city, from different schools going to play at different levels or what have you, but they don't really respect our level of football. And I mean that sincerely, because I've taken Jalen to plenty of camps, Florida, Philly, and they like, what's going on? Like, he's a dynamic player. But, that's kind of like a major factor. Just the exposure. Like, a lot of them coaches are not gonna come up here. You know what I'm saying? So you have to kind of make yourself available to them, and that's another subject.
Okay, so Jalen, he's graduated from Cardinal Hayes. He does PG year up
East
at
Coast Prep.
East Coast Prep. Anybody who missed the All-Star game he played in a couple of weeks ago, oh boy, did you miss a goodie. So all of that extra work, overcoming the hurdles, where do we land today? What was the final landing place for him, and how did that come to fruition, and how do you and the family feel about where he's at and what the future holds?
So for the post-grad year, we did a post-grad year up at East Coast Prep in Massachusetts, and it was a good situation. It was the first time Jalen was away from home. They managed to get 6 games, and he did really well, and from there we kind of came back home and was getting a few calls and stuff like that, different situations, but no real solid offers because the coaches don't really know what they have, technically speaking. They got their seniors getting their year back. Just so much going on with that situation. So New Haven, got in touch with us. They was basically, getting in contact with Jalen from, the prep school that he was at in Massachusetts. And we went on a visit. It was a good situation, and we decided to, let him, start his collegiate career at University of New Haven.
So, I think that's a big deal because, New Haven is still considered the tri-state area. New Haven is maybe an hour drive up 95. But for me, the fact that they came down to get a kid that played at the South Bronx High School, they're a solid D2 school.
Solid.
It's worth it to me to get that information out to young athletes to say, look, we talked about this with some actual college athletes. You're hearing it from the parent of a newly beginning college athlete. You guys need to understand that these opportunities are created so that you can have a better opportunity. Don't rest on your laurels, though.
And let me say this though too. So don't let nobody tell you what level you should play at or where you should go. You have to go where they want you, not where you want to be. That's the bottom line. And go where the guaranteed money is at. Okay? The goal is, you know what I'm saying, to get that free education. You understand what I'm saying? Let your athletic ability get you in a situation where you and your parents could, be a little bit at ease instead of trying to, because it's a lot of money to go to school. It's $58K for New Haven. That's a lot of money.
It's a nice chunk of change.
You know what I'm saying?
So I guess in closing, I would like for you to talk a little bit to high school parents about the importance of family and how that transcends from just your immediate family to your high school football family, to the people that you're going to sit next to for 4 years in the cold, cheer for your kids, make sure that they eat, make sure that they, are on the straight and narrow. The community aspect of this is something that's often overlooked and forgotten. And I can tell, I can say it proudly as somebody that's benefited from having kids on the team with you and your wife. The way y'all gave it up, my kids were your kids.
Oh, no question.
And vice versa. So
listen, we eat, we all eat. You understand what I'm saying? My whole thing was, whatever I was involved with, New York Patriots, Gauchos, Cardinal Hayes, Bronx River, Bulldogs, Kips Bay Chargers, Bronx Knights, Bronx Chargers. We always had a family vibe. Cause I'm not with all that funny business. You know me. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I'm a straight shooter. Any type of funny business, it's not working with me. So at Hayes, that's how we was, from freshman all the way up. Your son played with my son, your son is my son. Like I said, we made sure those kids had food after games, beverages, everything, whatever they needed. You know what I'm saying? We did that for them.
Just the added question, because I know some people would probably say, oh, that's a real feel-good, warm story and everything, but I'm trying to get my kid recruited, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm competing with these other parents. I want to specifically talk to a guy in Damon Barnes, mm-hmm. who is a teammate of your son's, mm-hmm. a young man that also was highly talented and recruited. Great kid. Right? Mm-hmm. Great kid. One of Jalen's best friends. Mm-hmm. But that didn't stop his mom from being a sister to you, a sister to your wife. So, no. Talk to people about the ability to be competitive, mm-hmm. to want what's best for your kid, but the importance of that village mentality and that family support?
Well, like I said, I always try to build a good rapport with the parents and the kids, because that's what makes a good team. If everybody is getting along and the teammates like each other, that's going to help you with, you know, the cohesiveness, the continuity, people winning. If dudes don't like each other, how are they going to play with each other? And that's what happens sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But it's up to the coaches and it's up to the parents to be adults. And, you know what I'm saying, figure out the semantics for the better of the group. The experience with the parents and the kids at Hayes, phenomenal. You know, we had some good times. We won a lot of games. We put a lot of pain in.
Shameless plug, baby. Go ahead, let it out.
Let's not say that. So, you know, it was fun. And like I said, you know, for the most part, everybody was on board. You know, and it was like, okay, you know, the little bit of, you know, disgruntled ones, they couldn't really speak loud because, you know, the positive and the vibe was on point.
Agreed.
You see what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So that's what. And as far as me, like parenting and all that, I always gave my kids motivation because they was always small. You know, Molly was a small guard. Jalen, oh, he's too small to do this. You preach
it to the choir over here.
Man, I love, yeah, you got, you know what I'm saying? My boys, you know what I'm saying? Them same thing. So it was like, that was motivation. And to this day, every day, I send Jalen something. You know what I'm saying? Or just let him know, look, you know, just to stay positive. Don't let nobody tell you you can't do nothing because of your size or where you come from. You know, because where we come from, like, you know, it's not easy.
True story.
You know, it's not easy. Like, you know, there was times like, you know, I worried, like, you know what I'm saying, about my sons because of the neighborhood. Even though I know we good over there, but it's just so much going on, man.
True
and,
story.
you know, I wish that I could do more. I could be more of a father to some other kids and maybe help them out. You know what I'm saying? Get through something they going through, because the streets is rough right now, man. You know, and it's like, you know, I just want to, hopefully my son can inspire somebody else from the neighborhood to do some positive things, because that's all we try to do, man. You know, just to show you that no matter where you come from, you could aspire to be anything. Because we know for a lot of things in the View, but we got a lot of good people over there doing a lot of positive things, and we just need to continue that movement, you know?
Good stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
G, I appreciate you, man.
Man,
thanks for coming
love
up and
all the
chopping it up
time.
with
You
us.
already know, man.
Love is love, and listen, man, more to come, man.
Yeah,
you know,
most definitely.
I'm sure we'll
definitely.
talk more in the future, because I expect some really big and dynamic things out of Mr. Smith up in New Haven.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
All right?
Yes, sir.
The game, we wasn't from the same hoods. The ball kept us off the block, had to try to remain good. Started from the bottom, so you know we off the grid. Trying to make it to the top, so we live off the grid. Had dreams of making teams, I was just a kid. Oh, we off the grid? Yeah, we off the grid.